Hello everybody and welcome to episode 2 of what we're now properly calling Thrice Pondered. In this section we ask each other 3 questions. Neither of us know what the other one's got to ask, so we have to answer it on the spot. So I'm going to let you start because I need to think of the question.
I'm going to go first this time. My question for you, Max, is: do you work with gods and goddesses? And if you do, which ones do you like the best and why?
Okay, cool question. Yes, I will work with both and have worked with different ones at different times throughout my life. One that I've always liked has been Odin, for various different reasons. I have also worked with the energies of Lilith for a period, but Sonomus and the Horned God is usually one that I will always seem to go back to, because I like that sort of wild, primal energy. But it certainly depends on what I'm trying to achieve. While I won't I don't know if I would say go through like a codex of different deities and like the yellow pages of gods or whatever to try and find that one obscure Babylonian deity that dealt with this specific problem. I would tend to sort of approach one of the main ones that I have created a relationship with in some way or another, and often I might do something that's very sort of masculine and feminine and use sort of a generalised term if it's a more general thing. But if I wanted to tune into the energy of, say, I'm going to use Odin as an example. If I'm looking for a psychopomp energy or energy relating to wisdom, or if I'm using any sort of Norse or Scandinavian magical systems, I will certainly tend towards that one, or if not, Loki deity, which is very, very interesting, although often painted as a more evil energy, but it's certainly, I wouldn't say the case, more element of chaos. So if there's a stagnant situation, calling on a deity of that nature is a really good way for giving the situation a kick up the bum, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But yes.
Cool.
So the answer is yes. I would work with gods and goddesses. So for you, what's your generalized view on the sort of adoption of the witch as a feminist figure in modern society?
Feminist. Well, I think it's great that women are using the goddess, for example, and the witch figure as and maybe the triple moon goddess kind of idea of energy as an empowering symbol. I think that's good. However, I think there is an imbalance, and I think it's gone a little bit too far in some cases where women just don't want to accept or acknowledge or work with the male aspect, or the male, not necessarily male gods plural, but the male aspect. And for me, they're just as there is light and dark, just as there is positive and negative in terms of energy, rather than I feel that there has to be a balance, but that balance isn't static, that it's always moving. So between male and female, I feel that there should always be a movement and a sort of fluidity, but there should always be a balance as well, with the female being receptive and the male, you know, having the energy and the drive and the force and the, you know, there has to be a balance of the two. If you're too receptive, if you're too sort of open and too gentle and too you know, taking on too much of those feminine qualities, it can be detrimental. Likewise, if you take on too much of the male energy, too much of the male aspect, it's an imbalance. So for me, there has to be a balance, and I find that the easiest way to work and the best way to work for me, because I find that it's more fluid, it's more comfortable to work with, and I like it that there are balanced energies, light and dark, good and bad, positive, negative, high and low, male and female, polarity. And I do feel that for me there has to be a sort of a balancing point between the two. However, you asked about the witch, the idea of the witch. I really relate to the idea of the witch, because I like the idea of a woman using her womanly powers. I love that. And I think women do have that kind of mysterious power about them. And, you know, men have their own mysterious power. I mean, God knows what's going on there. But men have their own thing. Women have their own thing.
I really don't. If something's going on, they haven't told me.
You weren't invited to that.
No, I wasn't allowed in. It was like that sign in no Max's.
What I really love recently, in recent times, is where people are more accepting of the fact that it's not just male and female in the world. You know, and I really, really love this now, because male and female has become a very traditional view of things. And I love that in the last, you know, 5 to 10 years, people are being more open to the fact that there are in-betweens. So in terms of your sexual identity, but also in terms of your sexuality. I think the idea of your sexuality kind of came in first, and it was kind of like, oh, you know, you could be bi, or you could be gay. And I think in the, you know, in our minds it was kind of like, that was shocking. Not in my lifetime, but prior to, you know, generations before, it was shocking and whatever. And now it's kind of extending into actually your, you know, what you identify as can be anywhere on this, you know, in the spectrum between the two as well. And I think that's wonderful. I think it's really great that you don't have to be male or female, and you don't have to identify as what you were, you know, technically born as. You've got the choice, you've got the option. So I think that's really good in magic as well. Bring that into the magic. You know, if you work with male energy better, then work with male energy, whether you're male or female or whatever in between. It's fine. I think that's what was great about magic. But when you're actually producing a result for something, there are things that you want to be feminine. There are things that you need the feminine energy for. There's no doubt about it. And there are things that you need the male energy for equally. So you might do a ritual where you call upon the goddess for a specific reason. Maybe it's to do with something to do with your own femininity in whatever form that takes. And I get that. But I don't think that every single working should necessarily be goddess, 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 goddess all the time, because you're missing this other huge energetic force that you should be using and you know, you should be welcoming in. So that's my sort of stance on it. But I love the idea, I love the image of a witch, because I love the idea of the hag. She's my favourite. I can't wait to get just a little bit older and, you know, just have that, the wisdom, but the power behind it as well. And it's got nothing to do with how you look. You're not under no pressure to be beautiful. You know, you're a hag, and you do it well. That's what I'm going. That's my life goal, to be a hag. It really is. I think it's great to not have to worry about any of that. You know.
You are turning into Granny Weatherwax
and everything. Yeah, good.
I'm saving it up to
actually
transfer.
That's a fantastic
Actually, it's a very good example of how the hag done right. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So if you don't know who Granny Weatherwax is, Google that and get your hands on some good books. So, I need to ask you a question.
Yes.
Oh my goodness! Right.
I forgot the next one I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I actually only have one.
Okay.
Okay. one. What was it? Oh dear.
Preparation is key, people. Preparation is key.
Right. Let's go a little bit deeper. What is your favourite aspect of yourself working in magic? What do you do best, or what do you like about yourself the most about the way you work? Whether it's something in your birth chart, or something with the way that you do things, or just something that's kind of personal to you, something that you do that you like about yourself. Let's be positive.
Okay. Working in magic is such a personal thing, and as you're working, elements of yourself come to the fore that you didn't know were there, and you get certain moments where the ego is stripped away, or you get these moments where you are your truest form, and at those moments you see yourself at what you really are, and that's always really interesting. And one thing that I've always liked when I've been in those situations, I've always made nice decisions, if that's made sense. It's a similar, you get similar experiences, before if you've ever hurt yourself quite badly, not intentionally hurt yourself, but if you've been in an accident, you get that moment where time slows down, and it's a bit like that, where your mind just goes, oh, this is really going to suck, or this is really going to hurt, or something like that. But you get moments like that in magic where you've released that energy and you have that a few split seconds of that, and I've had to say I feel quite proud that that energy is within me is quite good. Even if I've when I was many years ago undertook work in magic because of anger or anything like that, which is wrong. You should always be in a calm state, certainly when you're approaching energies, as it can be very destructive if you're allowing your emotions to go crazy. But even after I've finished that work, even though the person even now really deserved what I did, I went and actively undid that, because I don't need that karmic debt on my own conscience or myself. But my favourite thing is, it's sort of losing yourself in that magic. There have been times where we've set up something, and I've spent a long time setting it up, but in the process it's retreading that path, retreading that circle so many times, you almost go into like a trance-like state, and that brings other energies forward which continue to do it as well, and it becomes like a snowball, and you go, wow, and then you sort of stop and you go, oh my god, there's hundreds of them, there's people everywhere.
If I can paraphrase?
Yes, paraphrase.
You like the fact that you're able to generate that energy with external energies.
Yes,
and work with them,
yes,
that they accept you, and that you work
together. It's being able to experience sorry, that was a bit of a ramble.
That's
but
fine.
I'll be honest, I was just talking and hoping I found the answer along the way. But yeah,
there are no wrong answers.
Yeah, it's perfectly finding that energy, and I think some of the nicest things have been where these energies have come forward, where we've had either difficult or strange situations. A few years ago we lost a pet, but all the energies of the woods where we've been walking them and everything like that, because we had to drive out, all appeared at the same time, and there was this beautiful procession of energy, which was
absolutely awe-inspiring.
Yeah,
which really,
was really,
so
really beautiful.
Awe-inspiring. Anyway, let's move on.
Okay.
Get upset.
Yeah, sorry, darling.
I'm trying to keep it positive, and you're all like, our pet died. Anyway.
Death. Okay. What has it been like for you, getting to know and experiencing your guide, going from such a young age, being aware of energies and having that influence there, but maybe not so much in the forefront. But as that energy started coming forwards, how has that relationship developed, and how would you say that's? Would you say that they put up with your nonsense, or do they, or are they more of a cause of mischief?
Well, the thing about your guide, your main guide, is that their personality will be very much like yours. So you should be able to get on really well, understand each other's sense of humour, and be really quite understanding of each other's actions. And so it was a very long time before I could actually have a conversation with my guide and feel comfortable that that was my guide and that was what was happening. Really, really late on. So even though I've always been able to talk to spirits and always been able to see spirits and communicate with spirits, there have been so many spirits that I didn't really there's a few that are around me often. He didn't actually step forward until I was in my mid-20s. I knew he was there. I always was, always aware, there's this guy standing there, and there would always be so much other stuff going on that I never really I wasn't kind of like, I want to talk to you. Why are you there? I never really kind of did that. I don't question enough, I think. But anyway, and I hadn't heard his voice. And I was really, really kind of worried about my own abilities and my own development, because, I was 24, 25 before I heard him, before I had a conversation with him that was audible. I could see him a lot. He would gesture, things, and I'd understand what he was gesturing, but I never had that audible conversation with him. And it was actually in a moment of real anger for me, and I don't get angry very often, but it was in a moment of anger for me that he just started talking, and I was kind of in my head yelling back at him without really thinking about what was actually happening. I was just kind of, I'm fed up about this,
carrying on the argument.
So he was like, just yelling, and I was yelling, and I was like, well, who are you anyway? And then he kind of, explained things, and then I calmed down, and it was very helpful. It was a good moment for him to step in, because I was in an awful situation and a difficult situation and very hard situation emotionally, and so the fact that he stepped in at that point was great. But I'd spent years prior to that doing meditations, how to meet your guide, and and I felt like a failure because that was the one thing that I couldn't seem to do. It just didn't click with me for a long time. But then when it did, he hasn't shut up since, and we have a great relationship. Because he has the same sense of humour as me, so I can basically, just be myself with him. And he is fantastic at silly things like saying "speed camera" so that I can slow down in time, and things like that. He's great with, and I ask him things occasionally, but a lot of the time I know that most of the things in life are things that I need to work out myself, and usually it's just a matter of order and timing and waiting for things to fall into place. So although he's always there, I don't kind of regularly go to him, help, I don't understand this, or help, I need information, or help, when is this going to happen? I'm just kind of, I think with the way that I've been taught is to kind of, okay, you walk in time with the universe, and you're learning as you go. Yes, there's help there when you need it, but really you should be making your own way as much as possible. So that's kind of how I view things. If I'm really stuck, or if I just want to chat, or I'm kind of like, I could really do with one of these things, or I could really do with this thing. He tends to be good at stuff like that. So
that's cool.
So yeah, and it is a good relationship. Yeah, he's fun. He's funny. He makes me laugh a lot, especially in moments when I shouldn't be laughing. And he's a troublemaker.
I've noticed that a few times.
He's such a troublemaker, and
I don't think he's been at a funeral yet or anything.
They're the worst. Those are the worst. Times when you really shouldn't be giggling, but the thing is, he'll join in with whoever's funeral it is. He'll be dancing around with them and just having knees up, and it's fun, but it can be a bit of a nightmare. Yeah,
cool.
I love him. He's great. Your guide, incidentally, is the same level of spiritual involvement as you as well. So your guide isn't necessarily some amazing angelic being that is way in advance of you, and unattainable and holy and all this kind of stuff. There's a few things that I've read and seen where it's sort of built up into this kind of image of something like an archangel type.
You get the phrase holy guardian angel, which is I think it's sort of grown from there and taken a misconception. Yeah. I mean, there are other guides and masters. So your main guide will be somebody who is going to reincarnate. That you could have been their guide in a previous lifetime. So that's something that a lot of people don't realise. It's always worth pointing that out. So they should be a person that you can communicate with easily and you can have fun with. He always communicated with me as a child. I remember I would ask a question and I'd be aware that he was there, and I would ask for an affirmative or a negative. So is this thing going to happen, or no, is it not going to happen? And the positive would be butterflies high up in my stomach, and you can't force yourself to feel that. You can't fake that. And he would give me that feeling, that excited feeling, butterflies, it's going to happen. And if it was no, or something negative, then I'd get the feeling of snakes in the pit of my stomach, and it would be a feeling further down. And then, sort of a churning almost kind of feeling, and that would be my signal for no. So that has never changed in the entire time. He still does that. He still gives me those signals. And they're great because I can't go, I've imagined having butterflies, because you can't fake it. It's something that either happens or it doesn't. Yeah.
So that's a great thing. So he's always communicated in that way, but it took a long time before we were just having a convo.
Yeah, cool. Cool.
I have to ask you a question. Is this the last one, or is this the second one?
I need to ask you one after this. So this is your last question.
This is my last question. Okay. Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
it is. What is the most interesting energy you've ever worked with?
There are some really cool ones, and I'm probably going to say some of the hybrid energies that we've come across. To explain very briefly, if you've ever come across any paranormal field, there will be a phrase, elemental energies, which is an incorrect term. An elemental will be an energy of fire, earth, air or water, where there are other energies which will be sort of an amalgamation of different things. So it will be an energy that's raised, either through a magical practice or a highly energetic event that's there, and it will sort of linger around a space.
And those energies often get termed an elemental when it's not an actual elemental energy.
Yeah, so it is something different. But these energies will eventually effectively be formless and will take cues from the environment. So if you're somewhere where there's a lot of bats, it might have an element of a bat in it. Or if there's a lot of spiders, it might have an element of a spider, but it might be something completely different. But there were certainly a few ones where we went through a period of trying to find out more about these particular energies and going, okay, is there a way that we can quantify? Is there a set number of them? Or but certainly having conversations with sort of combination of different ones, and the phrase that came back was "We are Legion," which was a really weird moment, and that's put tingle up the spine. It was like, oh,
yeah,
that's cool.
Oh yeah. Okay. That's what's happening then.
Right, so that's
Okay.
that's a big can of worms, but that was very, very cool. There have been a variety of energies. Actually, there's a really nice one that is around me from various times, which is it's difficult to describe. He's something like out of Pan's Labyrinth, like more like sort of faun-esque type energy, but slightly more sort of skeletal. So first experienced this energy when travelling through the woods at night during a dark moon, and gave me the fright of my life when I saw him in amongst the woods. But it was gone from him. I was like, okay, fine, yeah, that's an energy that I've seen. And I started seeing him more around, and the initial sort of shock of seeing something like that, which is the natural reaction, had sort of worn off, and I was, should we say, cautious. The energy was more like I don't want to say animalistic, but very wild. So it had to be sort of fostered slowly. But if I'm ever working closely with nature, or if I'm in a beautiful nature spot, he might appear every now and again and be very supportive or protective, and very, very cool energy. And I'm very, very pleased that I've built that relationship with that particular one. Yeah, I'll probably say that's the coolest one I've experienced.
Awesome.
Okay, for you, since you've met me, you've started to become more involved with working with sort of herbs and plants and resins and things like that.
Please don't quiz me. This is your.
No. I'm not going to be asking you anything too new. So, in sort of the working together and working with the energy of various different plants and herbs, it's been really nice to have someone else confirm it and have that experience, and making blends through intuition and going, actually, these are bloody good. What's your favourite energy from any plant-based substance, be it herb, root or resin, that we work with resin regularly?
Are you asking me what's my favourite herb, root or resin?
Basically, or the energy of it. What's your favourite one? It doesn't necessarily have to be like your favourite smell. There could be one you hate the smell of, but you love the energy to work with, or it's...
That's interesting. Storax. I don't even have to think about that. That's straight off.
Yeah.
That is 100% my favourite, and Storax is something that I burn every day if I can. It is the smell of witchcraft to me. It has all of the power and the energy, and it just takes me there. It just takes me to a place where I can just connect and work and be with the energies and just be me. So Storax is absolutely 100% my favourite thing ever. The energy from it as well is it's like when you're just so connected with nature, you just feel completely connected, completely integrated into the natural environment around you. So for me, that's when my feet are in the sea, or when I'm in the woods. So those are the places where I feel the most connected and just feel the most amazing energy. So that's where it takes me to.
That's really cool.
So in my mind it transports me there, and it gives me the same feeling, almost the same feeling of being in the sea or being in the woods.
That's really cool.
So I'd say that's probably my favourite, and it's not something that I worked with before I met you. So it's something that I was vaguely aware of but didn't really work with. And since you kind of had it in your collection, and subsequently we've bought it for our own the shop and our own purposes, I absolutely love it.
Fantastic. Available in the shop.
I just kind of I wasn't trying to sell it, but it is good stuff.
It is certainly interesting. I mean, for me, it has that sort of image of astral projection at night through like brambly hedgerows and blackthorns and
good stuff.
Bonfires with witches' Sabbath. It's that sort of
But there are so many herbs. There are so many that also do the same thing for me, but in different ways. The smell triggers certain feelings, and each herb has its own energy, and they are so powerful. It's just such a good thing to work with and such a good thing to use. So thank you for sort of bringing that into my life more. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
I really do appreciate it. It's been very interesting.
Wonderful.
That's all our questions.
That is, yes.
Thrice pondered, 3 times
Wonderful.
each. So.
Wonderful. So, if you have any questions you'd like us to cover in this or other videos, leave a comment below. And don't forget to interact and find us on other social medias and join the community.
Thank you for watching.
Goodbye.